Hey book lovers, I'm Elise and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do a bit of a book/bookish haul. Some of these I have talked about in previous reading vlogs, but I wanted to put together a video that was just 100% book haul because those are always fun to watch. So everything I'm going to be showing you today are books that I've hauled since around Christmas time. So maybe a little bit before Christmas, but definitely since Christmas. And the first things that I wanted to talk about are book sleeves. I finally decided to buy myself some book sleeves, and of course I had to get them from Rachel over at Happy Go Lovely Sleeves. First one that I got is this mermaid one. This is the mini size. I heard Rachel talking about on one of the lives that we were doing, I don't know if I was on the live or if I was just in the chat, but she was talking about how these are actually really good for not only mass paperback size books and like cozy mystery books, but also Kindle. So I was sold. I actually have two Kindles. This was my first ever Kindle. It's the Kindle Paperwhite. I also have the Kindle Oasis. They both fit in here. As a water sign, I'm a Pisces. I had to get the mermaids. And then the other one, this was one of the most recent releases that Rachel did, but this adorable daisy print. Oh, and the insides, this one's just, is it white or light pink? I can't really tell, but this one has that color on the inside. And these are like, they're nice and thick. They're really good quality. I'm so glad that I ended up getting these. I've obviously heard a bunch of my friends talking about them for like however long I've been on Bookstagram. I finally splurged and got some. So as far as the books go, I'm going to go by genre. First genre that we're gonna talk about is horror. So I have two horror books. The first is Reluctant Immortals by Gwendolyn Kist. I can't remember who I first heard talk about this. I know I've seen Lauren talk about it over on her channel. I can't remember if she was the first one though. It follows Lucy and Bertha, who I think are, well, I know Lucy is definitely from Dracula, and Bertha is supposed to be from Jane Eyre. So it's based in Los Angeles in the 1960s, and it follows Lucy and Bertha. They're now immortals, and I think reluctantly so based on the title. And this whole book is inspired by the untold stories of forgotten women in classic literature. I've never read Jane Eyre, but I have read Dracula, and I absolutely loved it. So I'm digging this vibe, especially being in the 60s. It's said to combine elements of historical and Gothic literature, and is also said to be for fans of Mexican Gothic. This just came out last year. I'm not sure at what point in the year, but it's a 2022 release. And the other horror novel in this haul is Cackle by Rachel Harrison. This book was so kindly gifted to me by my friend Kendal over at Bookphoria. She sent it to me for my birthday, so thank you, Kendal. And this book follows Annie. She was recently dumped and she wants to make a fresh start, so she moves to Manhattan and she meets another woman called Sophie, who I'm guessing is a witch. Annie really gravitates towards Sophie, and Sophie just tries to help Annie out. It sounds like she tries to instill in her a sense of independence and girl stop apologizing type energy. So I've heard a lot of friends rave about this one. It's said to be sweet and sinister. Next we're going to talk about the fantasies. The first one is The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland, and I think when I first got this one, I talked about it briefly in a vlog, I think my birthday vlog. I think I completely missed. It's kind of alluded to that this has to do with vampires. It doesn't say the word vampire, but I've heard other people talk about this book and they say vampire, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I mean, like I said, it doesn't say vampire, but it talks about Colette Lessange. It says that she's immortal, and then later it talks about her mysteriously growing hunger for blood. So like, duh. Vampire. This is a historical fantasy, and like I said, it follows Colette Lessange, and she's immortal. Apparently she's a vampire, and she's head of an elite fine arts school for children, and one day this child arrives, and I guess they come from a troubled home, and it kind of upends Colette's world a little bit. Kind of a vague summary, but there's a little snippet that says, by turns suspenseful and enchanting, this astonishing first novel weaves a story of love, family, history, and myth as seen through the eyes of one immortal woman. Now, I want to read you the first paragraph of this book because the vibes. When I was a child, the dead were all around us. Cemeteries were not common in the early years of the 1830s. Instead, small, shambling family graveyards butted up against barns or sprung up like pale mushrooms at the edges of pastures, in the yards of churches and school and meeting house, until eventually you could look out across the village, see all those gravestones like crooked teeth in a mouth, and wonder who the place really belonged to, the huddled and transient living or the persistent dead. This is a new release that just came out earlier this year. The next fantasy I want to talk about is The Brides of Merricourt by Gregory Maguire. This is book 1 of a trilogy. This is from the same author who did Wicked, and it follows Rain, who is actually the granddaughter of Elphaba, which was the Wicked Witch of the West, I think. I don't know. I didn't read it. I saw the musical. I have the book, but I haven't read it. I got this one for Christmas from family. Like I said, it follows Rain. Something happens and she washes ashore this island. And the island has 7 women and they are strictly to remain 7 women. So when this 8th woman washes up on shore, like all hell breaks loose. They have to figure out what to do with her. Meanwhile, Rain is trying to figure out how she can get back to Oz, back to her life, back to her lover. I really like the vibe. It's got a pretty neat cover. This is a weird, like, it's a dust jacket, but it's like a half dust jacket. Oh, those are the 7 women. And the final fantasy in this book haul is The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. This is the same author that wrote The Lost Apothecary, and it follows 2 women. Vaudeline Dallaire has the special ability to communicate with the dead, and people seek her out to investigate murders. So if somebody dies mysteriously and it's presumed that they were murdered, Vaudeline is brought in to conjure the spirit and communicate with them to try to break the case, figure out how they died, and hopefully put someone behind bars for it. And then there's Layna Wykes. She comes to Paris to find answers about her sister's mysterious death. Vaudeline is back into England where she's to investigate a high-profile murder, and Layna goes with her as her understudy. And of course, while they're investigating this murder, they become entangled with it themselves. Now onto the historical fiction, the first of which is The Christie Affair by Nina de Gramont. This follows a woman who kind of infiltrated her way into the marriage of Agatha Christie and becomes the mistress of Agatha Christie's husband. And then the whole mystery of Agatha Christie disappearing for 11 days is somehow interwoven into this as well. It's a bit of a mystery, but it's obviously very historical. It takes place in the 1920s, which in my opinion is the best decade of the 20th century. The next historical book is The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. This book follows Lucrezia de Medici and her marriage to Alfonso Il Deste, Duke of Ferrara. So, being in the 1500s, a woman's only duty as a wife is to provide a son, an heir for the king, whichever nobleman she is married to. Once this is completed, / if this is not completed, the woman is no longer a valued asset. So there is a historical note listed at the beginning of the book. 15-year-old Lucrezia di Cosimo de' Medici left Florence to begin her married life with Alfonso Il Deste, Duke of Ferrara. Less than a year later, she would be dead. The official cause of her death was given as putrid fever, but it was rumored that she had been murdered by her husband. With that being at the very beginning of the book, I think it's safe to say that this book is about the marriage of Lucrezia to Alfonso. This is, of course, the same author of Hamnet. Haven't read that one yet, really want to. Funny story, when I was at university, I was taking I don't remember which class. It could have been like a Renaissance and Reformation class or a different historical class. But the first time I ran across that name, Medici, I pronounced it Medici. And I still think that sounds better. Anyways, every time I come across that name, I have to pause and be like, okay, wait. Which way sounds better? Okay, it's not that way, it's the other way. The next historical fiction is Wayward by Amelia Hart. This one has 3 different timelines. And I think they're all women from the same family. They're just different generations. So we're in 2019, we're in 1619, and we're in 1942. 1942 obviously is World War II era. And then 1619, what were women who didn't comply with every whim of a man? Yeah, they were called witches. So I'm assuming it has a lot to do with that. In 2019, we have Kate, who flees London for Wayward Cottage, which she inherited from her great aunt. But she soon suspects that her great aunt had a secret, and the secret is kind of hidden. And then in the 1600s, Agatha waiting trial for murder of a local farmer who was stampeded to death by his herd. And of course, when a man is stampeded by his own herd of animals, naturally, it's some woman's fault, right? He probably deserved it. So in the 1942 World War II era is Violet, trapped in her family's grand crumbling estate, straitjacketed by societal convention. So literally straitjacketed? Okay, not literally straitjacketed. So she wants to have an education. She wants to, use her mind and her body for something other than bearing children, making food, cleaning the house. The book weaves together these 3 different timelines, these 3 different stories, and is just very heavy in the resilience of women. Women. What is that from Little Women? Saoirse Ronan. She's like, women. The next historical book is The Lost Girls of Willowbrook by Ellen Marie Wiseman. Layna over at Layna's Bookshelf has raved about this book, so of course I had to pick it up. This book follows Sage Winters, and 6 years ago her twin sister Rosemary allegedly died of pneumonia, but Sage recently found out that she didn't actually die. She was committed to Willowbrook State School. That is until she went missing a couple days ago. So now of course Sage is on a mission to be reunited with her sister. And the last historical in this book haul is Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel. This is book 2 in the Thomas Cromwell series. Book 1 was Wolf Hall, which I also haven't read that one yet. This series is about Thomas Cromwell, who served as chief minister to King Henry VIII and was one of the most powerful proponents in the English Reformation. And this specific book is about the fall of Anne Boleyn, who of course was married to King Henry VIII. So remember how earlier I talked about how back in the day, if a woman doesn't give a man a son or has already given a man a son, she's no longer valuable to him. Well, Anne didn't give Henry a son, so now he has no use for her. The next genre is science fiction / dystopian. So I have a few of these. First is Blue Ticket by Kate McIntosh. I don't remember where I heard about this book. I think this is oh gosh. Oh, that is tight. Oh my gosh. Okay, are you ready? That was a stiff spine. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, 2020. So I was gonna say, I thought I remember seeing this on NetGalley and I requested it and was declined. Maybe it wasn't NetGalley. I don't remember. I don't think it's had great reviews on Goodreads, but I remember when I first heard about it, it sounded super interesting. It's both claustrophobic and expansive, dreamlike and heart-stoppingly tense. You will want to languish in its world for a very long time. Strange and luminous, spare and precise. So this is based in a world where for women, when they get their first bleed, there's a lottery hosted and you get either a blue ticket or a white ticket. A white ticket means you're going to get married, you're going to have children, you're going to be a family person. And a blue ticket means that you're going to have a career, you're going to be independent. So it basically eliminates the burden of women having that choice of, do you go the family route, do you go the career route? Well, Calla, she received a blue ticket, so she was sent down the path of being an independent career girl, but she ends up preggers and has to go on the run for fear of something terrible happening to her baby. This sounds really good. I'm super surprised that there's not like super great ratings. Actually, what is the Goodreads rating? Like, let's be real here. I think last time I checked it wasn't very high. It has like 9,000 some ratings and has a 3.22 star rating currently. Majority of the ratings are 3-star. Not terrible. I mean, pretty down the middle. So I wonder if it's like maybe a writing thing. I'm like really itching to read this now. Oh. No quotations. Yeah, no quotation marks for dialogue. That could be a big reason why people tend to dislike it. This next one is Poster Girl by Veronica Roth. This one reminds me a little bit of like a Black Mirror episode. So it talks about in this dystopian setting, there are implants in people's heads. Is it their heads or their eyes? Oh, an ocular implant, so in their eyes, that tracks every word, every action, rewarding or punishing by a rigid moral code set forth by the delegation, capital D. Yikes. But then there's a revolution and the delegation falls. So a lot of people that were part of the delegation are now imprisoned. Everybody else is living free and without having the constant surveillance on them. Well, Sonia, she was a previous poster girl for the delegation. She's one of the people that are imprisoned. But after 10 years, an old enemy of hers comes to make a deal. A little girl was stolen by the old regime, and they have tasked Sonia with finding her, and in so doing will set her free. Stuff like this is so interesting because on the one hand, that sounds like the idea of having that constant surveillance sounds extremely intrusive and like major violation of privacy. But at the same time, I'm sure crime was way down. I think that's why I like books like this and like this one, I mean, they really make you think. You know, they take a problem that the modern world has and fix it with, you know, what seems to us to be like a really outlandish idea, like hosting a lottery to determine whether or not you're going to be a family person or a career person, or having ocular implants for like literally 24/7 surveillance and punishing you if you don't stick to a certain moral code. But the world is probably a better place for it, you know? Maybe I'm crazy. The next sci-fi in this book haul is The World Gives Way by Marissa Levian. It's said to be a story of class and privilege and is an action-packed post-apocalyptic novel. It follows Mira. She's contracted to be a worker on this ship, and the ship is carrying like the last people of Earth somewhere in space, trying to find a new home. Apparently it's gonna take a while because Mira's contract is for 50 years. One of Earth's most well-known, powerful, wealthy families is found dead, and somehow Mira is involved with that. The family that died had a secret, and Mira knows the secret, and now she's trying to escape whoever's after her while being confined on this ship. And the last science fiction in this book haul, I just received earlier this week. It's a new release. It actually doesn't come out until the 25th, but I got it like a week early, which I was ecstatic about. And it's In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. And I completely forgot when I pre-ordered this. It's a signed copy. I'm so excited to read this. So I haven't read The House in the Cerulean Sea yet, but I have read Under the Whispering Door, and I loved it. It was 5 stars. It made me cry. It made my heart happy. So I'm really excited for this one. And I don't even really know what it's about. I think there's like robots or something. Oh, that sounds so sweet. Okay, I'm just gonna read you the synopsis. Okay. In a strange little home built into the branches of a grove of trees live 3 robots. Fatherly inventor android Giovanni Lawson, a pleasantly sadistic nurse machine, and a small vacuum, desperate for love and attention. Victor Lawson, a human, lives there too. They're a family, hidden and safe. Then one day, Vic salvages and repairs an unfamiliar android labeled Hap, and he learns of a shared dark past between Hap and Geo, a past spent hunting humans. Oh. When Hap unwittingly alerts robots from Geo's former life to their whereabouts, the family is no longer hidden and safe. Geo is captured and taken back to his old laboratory in the city of Electric Dreams. So together, the rest of Vic's assembled family must journey across an unforgiving and otherworldly country to rescue Geo from decommissioning, or worse, reprogramming. Along the way to save Geo, amid conflicted feelings of betrayal and affection for Hap, Vic must decide for himself. Can he accept love with strings attached? I think TJ Klune definitely does found family really well, from what I've heard from The House in the Cerulean Sea and from what I know from Under the Whispering Door. And the final genre of this book haul is, of course, thrillers, of which there are 4. The first is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This one, I'm hopefully going to be reading this soon, like maybe even this week. I think it's the book pick for both Jess's Sleep When I'm Dead book club and also Kayla's Literally Dead book club. Basically, the gist is that a bunch of people are invited on this writing retreat, and they are challenged to pen an entire novel during this retreat, and they're basically competing in this contest, and the person who wins gets like a 7-figure book deal. But something very sinister is afoot. I've heard a few reviews on this. I've heard some people say, ew, no, skip it, and I've also heard some people say that it's weird but good. A lot of people have said that it gives them bunny vibes. The next thriller in this book haul is The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth, and this one follows a married couple. They live, like, their house is on a cliff, and I guess it's a cliff that a lot of people like to jump off of. And the husband in this scenario usually is able to literally talk them off the ledge until one day he doesn't. And now the wife is like, was he not able to? Did he push her? Why didn't he talk her off the ledge? And it kind of rocks the boat a little, because it turns out this last victim who the husband was not able to save was a woman that he knew. We love a good cheating husband story. I don't know if he cheated. I'm just being judgmental. The next thriller is When You Disappeared by John Mars. This book was sent to me for Christmas by my friend Keisha. Thank you, Keisha. And it's about a marriage. This man just up and disappears, and his wife has no idea what happened to him. But apparently all the memories that she has about their marriage is a lie. 25 years later, when this man reappears, the wife finally finds out who he is and really wishes that she didn't. I love John Mars. I've read 2 books of his now. Both were 5 stars, like jaw-dropping 5 stars. So I can only imagine what twists this book has in store for me. And the final book of this book haul is The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. This is going to be the June pick for Jess's Sleep When I'm Dead book club, of which I am going to be co-hosting with her, and I'm so excited. This book, it's kind of giving me In My Dreams I Hold a Knife vibes, because it follows a group of previous classmates who they experienced this terrible tragedy like 10 years ago. I think it was a bus accident where a lot of other classmates and a couple teachers passed away. So the survivors of this accident, they start coming together annually to kind of commemorate the event in remembrance of their classmates and just to kind of be there for each other. By the 10th anniversary, one of the survivors, Cassidy, she's kind of decided to start pulling away from the group. It's not really something that she wants to be tied to anymore. She just kind of wants to have a fresh start and move forward without that annual reminder of what happened. That is until she finds out that one of the other survivors has died. So now, of course, she does return to the group for the 10th anniversary, but she does so filled with grief and suspicion of what really happened and if any of the other survivors had something to do with it. Okay, those are all the books. Thank you for joining me. Please do remember to like and subscribe if you've not done so already, and until next time, bye.